Russian bombs are raining down on Ukraine's south a day after President Vladimir Putin led Victory Day celebrations in Moscow. Missiles have been pounding the port city of Odessa since yesterday. At least one person was killed and 5 others injured after a shopping mall and warehouse was struck by Russian fire. Video from the scene shows rescue workers combing through rubble in search of survivors.
На жаль, є загиблі в складському приміщенні і 2 поранених. В торговельному центрі 3 охоронці отримали поранення. У всіх середня ступінь тяжкості, всі направлені до лікарень і їм надається допомога.
And also in the south, the battle for Mariupol intensifies. Russian forces launched fresh efforts to storm the besieged Azovstal steel plant. More than 1,000 Ukrainian defenders are still holding out, many said to be injured. A local official says at least 100 civilians also remain trapped in that plant, even after both Kyiv and Moscow declared that all civilians in that facility had been evacuated. The UN Security Council is expected to hold a new public meeting on Thursday to discuss the worsening humanitarian situation on the ground. It will be the 16th session held by the body since the Russian invasion began. And Ollie Barrett joins us live from Riga. Ollie, ever since Russia's president put Russia's nuclear forces on high alert just days into the invasion, we've heard a steady stream of fairly consistent and constant rhetoric from Russia on nuclear forces. So the deputy foreign minister is saying that a nuclear strike is in fact set out in the country's military doctrine. How concerning should this be at this point?
Certainly, international capitals will be listening to those comments with great concern. As you say, there have been similar comments set out throughout this crisis from Vladimir Putin himself, from Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, talking about Russia's nuclear power in what seems to be a thinly veiled threat towards the parts of the world that are opposed to Russian invasion, but also those parts of the world that are actively helping the Ukrainians in their resistance. I think the view in many Western capitals is that Russia is not close to doing anything about this, is not close to considering actually making a nuclear action in this conflict, inside or outside Ukraine. But there's also the knowledge that things could change at any time, and that the rhetoric has certainly been ramped up, and there has all the way through this crisis therefore been that concern from the United Kingdom, from Washington, from those allies that are arming the Ukrainians to make sure that they're not taking part in the conflict inside Ukraine's borders for fears of escalating things further. We've heard similar comments from NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg as well. It is a difficult balance for those capitals, for the military alliance to strike, and we have seen increasing rhetoric, for example, coming from the UK, but also from some Baltic states like Latvia, where I'm talking to you from, about their ability to support Ukraine and how they now want to see, they say, Russia fail in its ambitions inside Ukraine. As I say, difficult balance for those international capitals to strike, but they will be watching those comments from Russian officials very closely indeed, but also, of course, using their intelligence to keep an eye on whether there's actually any movement happening on the ground when it comes to Russia's nuclear capabilities. And I don't think at the moment there is any suggestion at all that there's been any shift in that policy, in that military activity.
Ollie, as well, concerns as well from the start of this crisis about the global food crisis, given the place that Russia and Ukraine, the positions they hold in the global food supply chain. Of course, concerns even greater now as Russia continues to block the Black Sea port.
Yes, and it appears that Odessa is part of an attempted plan by Russia for its troops to eventually move west from there, from Mykolaiv, and end up with territory that goes all the way to the Russian-controlled Transnistria region of Moldova. Now, that is some way off being achieved by the Russians, but it would appear that that is partly the strategy here. But even if Odessa just ends up being under siege for a long time, or indeed if Odessa does end up being taken by the Russians, that would be a huge blow to Ukraine. It would cut its access to the sea. It would continue to disrupt in a significant way its ability to export goods to the rest of the world. And that Black Sea blockade that we've been seeing by Russia is really already having major effects. Now, before the conflict, it's estimated that around 29% of global wheat supplies, 60% of global sunflower supplies came from Ukraine and Russia, both of those incredibly important raw materials in many other products. And the World Bank is therefore warning that food prices are likely to spike even further than they already have. And they also warn that therefore hundreds of millions more people may end up in poverty.
Well, thanks for that. Ollie Barrett reporting to us there from Riga.